I'm live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my live Q&A. Today, I am answering lots of questions that I did not have a chance to answer during my Job Hunting Masterclass, the 2 sessions that I ran last week. So before I ran those sessions, I invited those that had registered to send me questions if they had any, thinking I'll get half a dozen. I got way more than that. So I have here a list of questions that I received, and I wasn't able to answer all of them during the masterclass. It was 90 minutes long, and I think like 60 minutes of solid content, then a bit of an understanding of my group coaching program that I'm running starting next week. I only do it twice a year, so lots of you have been waiting to join, and thanks for joining. And we have a great group shaping up already, and enrollments close Sunday. So that's what we discussed as well. And then I had maybe 20 minutes to answer questions, but it wasn't enough. One thing that I am not able to do, I'm feeling so bad about this, is I cannot find a record of the Q&A box. So as you know, with Zoom webinars, you can have the chat and the Q&A, and it didn't record my Q&A. Apologies. It sounds really unprofessional of me. I should know better, but usually I just get this massive notification from Zoom with all of the, different records, and it's fantastic, but for some reason the Q&A didn't come and I can't find it. So I am going to go through the chat, and I am going to go through the questions that were sent to me using that form in advance. And you can ask me questions as well. If you have any questions, ask. Right? If you want to know a little bit more about me, you have my website address there. If you've just found me, I'm a career coach. I have a podcast. That's usually how people find me. It's usually through that podcast or LinkedIn. And the podcast is called the Job Hunting Podcast. And my group coaching is called Job Hunting Made Simple. So that's kind of a little bit about me. Let me find my file here that I prepared very haphazardly earlier today, because it's better to have, it's 8 a.m. in the morning here in Melbourne, and it's better to have a well-rested Renata than a Renata that wakes up too early to over-prepare for things. So this is going to be super chit-chatty, and if you don't have a coffee yet, go grab one. We're going to start a bit slow and warm up as we go. Big glass of water. I have coffee coming up. My son came for a sleepover tonight because he has a client nearby that he needs to see this morning. So he's getting coffee ready for his mom, which is fantastic. So nice when adult kids come to visit. And here we go. Right. So this is the chat conversation from both sessions that happened last week, the Job Hunting Masterclass. A lot of people came from all over the world. We had people from Italy, Dubai, New Zealand, Sydney, US, all over, Australia, of course. People found out about me through LinkedIn and through my podcast. That's usually what people say. And then we have our first comment/question here. I haven't needed to use most of them a lot. We're talking here about technology. Ooh, my coffee. Thanks, Al. We haven't needed to use most of them a lot, and I worry about not being able to troubleshoot the tech during an interview or losing out on an opportunity. I am 100% behind you. Imagine doing this session here, my friend. I'm not going to name anyone here because I want everybody to be anonymous as they ask questions. But, this is not the easiest thing to do, right? We need to get used to it. The more I do it, the better I become. Just go back and listen to my first episodes. Actually, don't. It's cringy. The first episodes of my podcast or my first lives on Facebook. They're still there. I think it's important to leave them there and not take them down, because I want you to see the progress of somebody feeling more and more comfortable on screen or with technology. There's a lot of technology behind this. I'm as I talk to you, I am streaming this to YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So let me know if you're watching. I know a few of you are, where you're watching it from. Okay, so you need to get used to the technology by using the technology. Do it in a safe space, not in a full-fledged interview, but just book a Zoom session for yourself, record it, come in and out, do it as often as you can. If you're doing Teams or WebEx or other platforms, try those as well. I know that as a Zoom user, whenever I use something else, like WebEx, I struggle a little bit. When I've gone to like StreamYard, I'm very comfortable with. It's the platform that I'm using. But if I'm going to be interviewed by, on TV, for example, I need about 15 minutes to set myself up. The screen that gets picked up by their service is it's a different camera, because I have quite a few, or it's a different mic. You have to feel comfortable and know that it's normal for things not to go 100% right in the beginning. So doing that exercise, logging in beforehand, um, and testing things out by yourself, is really important. I have seen clients of mine develop to the point that they have become so much better than me on camera. Like I wish I could show. I have said this to a few clients. We mentioned Davidson, which is an executive search firm here in Australia that requires senior executives to pitch. It's a 3-minute pitch. It was discussed in the chat box here, I noticed. And I have clients that have done brilliant jobs with that pitch. We've, of course, workshopped it together, and I gave them a few tips and they just ran with it. So, to this person that made a comment about not feeling comfortable troubleshooting, you're not feeling comfortable with technology in general, and you need to use it every day as often as you can. Okay. Motivation alone doesn't get you there. You need to get the discipline and not be afraid of it. It's wonderful. And whenever you need a little bit of help, ask for help. Lots of younger people are so comfortable with technology. I know I'm always asking my kids to help me, and friends and colleagues. I found StreamYard through Michelle Redfern, right? Like, how do you do this, Michelle? She told me I use StreamYard. So there you go. Okay, lots of people commenting on chat box. By the way, chat box in masterclasses, webinars, anything that you attend professionally is a great way to network and interact with people. And I invite people to really use that as part of their networking strategy, especially these days when most of us are working from home and attending things online. So there was a lot of conversation going, and at some stage in the 50-minute mark, somebody said, I've already learned so much. And those things make me so happy. It made me smile when I read that. And look, the masterclass is still available. I'm looking sideways here because I'm going to get the address, because I'm not promoting it anymore, but it's available as a recording. So if you want to watch the recording of it, I have just sent you the link. Thank you for sending me good morning. Hello. Great to know I'm on your big screen. Now, then somebody else said, shouldn't you wait at your present job at least 1 year before starting to look, or it might not look good on your resume to keep moving? Those are completely different things. One thing is for you to actually jump from one job to another, all right? The other thing is for you to keep your career readiness bubbling along and not just look out for people and opportunities when you need them, because that's not how the job market works. You need to be top of mind for those people that care about your career, like what you do, can advocate and champion for you, and open doors for future opportunities. If you disappear from the job market, from your community of colleagues, from your network, because you're too involved with your job, and you only reappear in a transactional way a few years down the line because you're looking for work, that's not a good look for you. People don't want to help people like that. So there needs to be a change in the way that we design our lives and our routines, our weekly routines, our monthly routines to incorporate career advancement ideas and strategies. They need to be little sprints of maybe a LinkedIn exercise, activity, giving value to the community, not just liking every post that you see. And there needs to be more face-to-face engagement, nurturing, caring for people. I always mention my friend Sasha Kaufman, who I interviewed for my podcast. So let me find a link to the podcast. I mean, you can go to my website, you will find it. So if you search for Sasha on this link here, you will find the interview with him. Sasha is a great example. Gary Ryan, great examples. These are colleagues of mine. These are good friends of mine because we've known each other for years and we've worked together for so long, right? And on and off, these amazing people will send me a link to something. This made me think of you. Right. And it's an article and it's something that he knows that I will enjoy reading, or it's a TV show, or it's whatever. This is really important in the sort of the nurturing of the networks that matter to Sasha and the networks that matter to me. So I think it's something that you can do without feeling like it's time for you to leave a job. But I also think that there's a different mindset here that I want to address, of something that we've addressed in a podcast episode that's coming up on Monday. So please watch out for that one, where I interview the CEO of recruiter.com, and he says, people can move now. It's fine. Nobody cares. We are in a different place post-pandemic, and changing a job that you don't like earlier than you think is advisable according to the rules of the game we played before 2020 is okay. Don't feel like you need to be stuck to a job that you accepted during a pandemic because there were no other jobs available, and don't just stay at a job that you don't like. Right. So I think it's important to understand that things have really changed, as many people pointed out in the chat box when we ran the masterclass. Somebody said here, didn't know LinkedIn had a recruitment section. I don't know exactly what that means. So LinkedIn, just so you know, if you don't, LinkedIn has the platform that you see. It has two other platforms you do not see. One is called Sales Navigator, and it's for sales professionals, and another one is for recruitment professionals. That recruitment platform is vital for your career advancement, right? Because recruiters in companies, HR departments within companies have subscription to that platform, which looks entirely different from yours. It's like Google for recruiters and hiring managers and HR people. So you want to always be developing your profile and your activity to boost how you're going to show up in their searches. So knowing that is really important, and that's why so many people love the LinkedIn audit that I do. So go to my website, check out my services. One of my services is a LinkedIn audit, and I love doing it, and it gives people great results. So just letting you know. The other thing about the recruitment section here, I don't know exactly what this person is asking, is that you can be open to work for recruiters only without having the green banner. The green banner means you opted to be looking to work and showing it to the public. I would recommend the banner for somebody who is junior, recent graduate to maybe up to 10 years of work experience. The green banner, I think, is appropriate. In some job markets and professions, as you get older, I do not recommend the green banner. I play conservatively. I play for you to win and get your job as fast as possible, and that's my advice. I'm going to stick to it. The fact that LinkedIn has things doesn't mean you have to use them, by the way. Some people just overuse LinkedIn, and some tools are just not designed for you. I have a good example of a client-based American client Was he American? He was not Asian. He was either Australian or American. I can't remember which country he was from. Based in Malaysia or another Asian country. I get very confused. I see lots of people. These are people that book consultations with me. And it could have been Singapore. I don't know where he was based, but he had a very American looking LinkedIn profile that also looked very young. So he was getting advice from LinkedIn experts that were not aligned with his more conservative professional background and the country that he was in. Pretty sure he was in Singapore. And I advised him to just unlearn a lot of the things he was learning through watching free videos about LinkedIn. And, we kind of designed a different strategy for him. So that's my feedback to you about LinkedIn and how recruitment works using LinkedIn. I have more comments here that I've read quickly this morning that I will bring up again about LinkedIn and recruitment. All right, I have been working on contract for the past couple of years, and given my last permanent opportunity was not a good experience, I am fearful of my new job not working out. Sometimes what we keep from our past is the hard things, and this is because we're designed to survive, and we're designed to fear things, to learn like the fire burns, so let's not go near the fire again, right? That's how our brain was developed. That's why we became the amazing human beings that we've become, with years and years of surviving terrible risks and adversities in the savannah. Now, you don't have to fear those things anymore. We need to kind of retrain our brains to live in civilized society. You don't have to be afraid of your next job. There's a little program that I have on my website called Reset Your Career that's designed for people that are exactly like that. They just need a reset. They need to think differently about their future. And it starts with a first masterclass. It's an online course. It's short, it's sharp. You can do it in a day or less. And the first masterclass is already teaching you a lot about how to have that circuit breaker. Just yesterday was a full day of coaching. I started at 8 a.m. I finished at 7:30, I think it was, p.m. So one of my clients was somebody who is really struggling at his job at the moment, finding it really overwhelming, different country, different culture, lots of things going on, incredible hard working hours, very difficult KPIs. And he's not performing, he's not sleeping well, it's affecting his well-being, and he needed that circuit breaker. So we discussed a whole bunch of strategies to enable that circuit breaker for him, with options so that he can make a choice that suits his situation. So it might be a good idea when you get to a point where you're not performing well either at your job or at your job search, to talk to an expert and see if you can get any better strategies. And the group coaching is great because you get feedback not just from me and a roadmap from no job to job from me. That's what the group coaching, it's job hunting made simple. It says it all. I don't feel like I need to over explain it. I make it simple. It's a roadmap, 7 weeks. We do it together, and hopefully that is the pathway that leads to a faster transition. All right, somebody else said, especially because of my advanced age, 57, fear of being rejected holds me back from even trying. Person who asked this question, I have clients that are much older than you and doing really well. And I know ageism is out there, but it cannot start inside you, right? You need to educate your market as to the possibilities. And it is really important to, take control over your career, and you deciding where you want to stop and when. So this is really important. My oldest client is 70. My youngest client is I have 2 clients in their mid-30s now, but there are exceptions. Most of my clients are in their late 40s and above. Okay? So I'm very passionate about giving wise professionals the right tools for them to take control over their careers. This is really important for me. I have a few comments here. One is saying comments from now, if you work with more than one recruiter and you make company contacts on your own, what happens when more than one recruiter contacts an employer with your resume and you also send your resume to the company directly? I have seen some conflicts in the past. I I think it's the way that the game works. It's definitely not the fault of the candidate. What can you do? You have sent the resume directly because you've been proactive and looking for work on your own terms and strategically targeting, I'm hoping, companies and roles that suit you. So good on you for sending your resume directly. If a recruiter then contacts an employer with your resume, this is a problem between the recruiter and the employer as to how they're going to work out who owns that commission or if there's any commission at all to be received. It is not the candidate's fault. This is a very specific problem that I think you have encountered, and I would have to. It's kind of maybe a unique situation that you have gone through. It may be happening to you a lot because maybe it's part of your um, métier, the professional network and how people get jobs within your sector. But as a sort of a generalized statement, because not knowing you, it's all I can say is like, it's not your problem. It's their problem. And it shouldn't be a conflict that involves you. You're being proactive by contacting the right recruiters for your sector, the recruiters that have the right jobs for you, and the employers that you want to work for. It's all you can do. Let them figure out how they're going to split the commission, if there's any commission at all. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I address this so that if you're watching, you keep engaged. Then we have another question here. So I answered the question about the age, which makes me, feel very passionate about everything. Oh boy. After 2 years of a voluntary break, that's great. It's wonderful to take a break. I have a podcast episode that I did recently about that. I'm looking for a career change. I have not looked for a job for over 20 years. Things have changed. This is so common. I was working with a client who was part of the group coaching program the last time I ran it, and she had been with the same organization for over 20 years. And being promoted over time or changed countries or jobs over time. This was a multinational. She was based in the US. She recently got a job somewhere else. And, not only that transition is hard to do, it's challenging to do for a lot of professionals that have been institutionalized in the same organization. But starting a new job in a completely different organization is very disorientating because you don't know anybody, you don't know the language and the jargons and the culture and how to, navigate politics in this new place. So there's a lot to learn. The onboarding can be, overwhelming. So as part of the group coaching program, we run a 90-day seminar with Sue and Sue Zablin, who is also a good coach and a friend of mine, and she comes in to do that level of support for the coaching, because I want people to get jobs quickly and I want them to understand that the first 90 days are important. So Sue will come in and deliver that for us in the group coaching program. So this was more of a comment. Pitch for the role that you have. Okay, this was the comment about the Davidson pitch. And yes, very aware of that. Thank you. Someone said here, it's not the tech in recruitment that I fear. It's the English and updating all of my papers and documents. I don't know if you were born in Australia or if you're like me and English is your second language. Guess what? Grammarly is your best friend. I wish they could, they could sponsor my podcast. I have been recommending Grammarly to everyone. And I think that when you are in a hurry, when you are tired, when you're working 9 hours plus per day, and you're trying to get all of your documents and your emails and your reports, then applying for jobs, your resumes ready for others to read, it's very hard to be precise, to keep an eye on the ball and not miss out on, grammatical mistakes or anything. The Grammarly, if you have the paid version, it's so superior to the information you can get using Word and that sort of editing tool that's designed within Microsoft Word. So would strongly recommend that you trial the paid version of Grammarly. It's the best investment I've ever made. I really am just sold on it. It helps me write better. I do not become lazier as a writer because of Grammarly. I become better. I have felt I've been using it for years now. So there is my suggestion to you. Hopefully that makes things easier for you. So glad I did your LinkedIn audit. Thank you. There was a whole discussion about this LinkedIn audit. I love when my clients help me sell my products. So that service was discussed a lot in the chat box, I noticed. Another challenge is the rare occurrence of how to manage a situation when you have a bird in hand and one or two in the bush. What she's saying here is when you have a job offer and then two other job offers in the pipeline and you don't know if you accept that because you may get another job at another time. So I used to think that that was a rare occurrence as well. That's very common. And I often have clients that have more than one job offers and then they have to choose between two birds in hand. And that's really my ultimate goal. I talk about this as a lot. This is part of my KPIs and deliveries in my deliverables in the Job Hunting Made Simple. I want you to work towards a situation where you have options. That is, there's a list of KPIs. You will see that in the masterclass if you decide to watch it. There's a list of KPIs there that we discuss on the first day of the group coaching program, and we keep an eye on the ball. I'm not saying it will be 7 weeks for us to achieve everything, but that's what we're working towards. That's what the roadmap was designed to do, was to give you options, right? Now, if you have a bird in hand and two other, selection processes on the pipeline, it's really about your level of risk. Your risk appetite is what will help you make a decision. If you are in need of paying bills and you're running out of money and that job seems good enough, take it. I've been in that situation. I know it's hard, but that's how we have to manage our lives these days. I have people that I am extremely impressed by that live by their values and they're very comfortable waiting for a better offer, for a better opportunity, and they've done really well in life. They've had more appetite for risk, for going all the way down and waiting for even more than a year for the right job to come along and only accepting the offers that they really, really wanted. I envy those people. I have never, because of family reasons, and also personally because of my probably ingrained risk appetite, which is not very high, haven't been able to do that. So this is really, something that I love discussing with clients and brainstorming with them and ultimately letting them make the decision that better suits their family and themselves. Okay, another comment here. Changing career, most challenging is I don't know where to start. Have done all the brainstorming stuff, skills, work, sales, what I and what I don't want, like, not like. I get that you've done the brainstorming. I'm wondering if you've done a brain dump. So having all of these things floating in your head is not really ideal for planning. Um, Ideal for planning. Your brain is not supposed to be an archive of all of your thoughts and ideas. Putting this down as a career plan and designing it is really important. So the Job Hunting Made Simple group coaching program has a personal profile that we work on weekly, and that becomes your plan. And I invite people to work on a few questions and then a few strategies, and then work on a specific outcome for their long-term future plans and their short-term, which we do later. We work on the long terms first. And it's really good. If you go to the website, you will see that a lot of people had reservations about those in the beginning and found that that was the best part of the program. So just something to consider there. And in week 2, which is module 2 of the group coaching, we discuss how to make different types of career changes depending on um, how you think it will best suit you and the pros and cons of each way of going about it. So that second week, I think, is really, the first week is great. It's my favorite because it's more career designish. The second week is when I think most people get there, go, okay, all right, this is new. I didn't know this. So something to think about there in case you're thinking about joining the program. All right. Will you cover how to get set up for a Zoom interview so we can properly look at a camera and get a setup that looks as good as yours? Yes, of course. I my interview preparation is very holistic. It has to do with mindset. It has to do with, dealing with fight and flight. It has to do with your professional setup. I'm a big fan of working virtually and having the hobo set up properly. And I invite people during that time in the group coaching program, because we're all going to be on camera, might as well, use that opportunity to get the feedback. Is my microphone sounding good? Is my background okay? Because we have not only myself there, but a whole bunch of people there to support and help you. And then, of course, we have a module just about job interviews, and we will discuss all of those things. All right, I know that there's one person asking lots of questions, so I'm going backwards and forwards here so that I give everybody a chance, because there will be others waiting to hear back about the questions they have asked before. So bear with me, everyone. Somebody here saying, I need a shift on my cynical mindset. Yes, a cynical mindset will not get you a job. It translates into your body language, and especially your eyes, your smile, the way you communicate to others. And that mindset during job interviews and networking is incredibly important. The right energy to fill the room with positivity, trust, and likability is what usually gets you the job. And we work on that, on different techniques when I coach people. Somebody saying that they really enjoy the LinkedIn audit, and since then they get people contacting them via LinkedIn for jobs. And then others just started talking, this never happens to me. I get contacted for jobs, but they're not usually the ones I want. Okay, so if you're on LinkedIn and people are messaging you on LinkedIn and inviting you to apply for jobs you don't want, what does that tell you? Please be there listening. I hope you're there. It tells you your profile is not aligned, correlating with the jobs that you are good for, and we need to tweak it. Okay, so there's ways of tweaking it. So when I'm working with clients, let's say, I have private clients, they sign me up for 3 months, 6 months, we tweak it. It's not like I'm going to be a God godmother, a fairy godmother, and sprinkle some fairy dust on your LinkedIn and it will work. No, we work on it together. If that happens, usually the LinkedIn audit, it's the best way to get you started. It really helps. If you decide to do the group coaching, we have 7 weeks to workshop on that, because we have weekly Q&As and implementation sessions on Thursday evenings, Melbourne time, and we will get it done, right? And there needs to be a tweak there. So just letting you know. Right. I love your method, Renata. Why didn't I know about this 10 years ago? Could have saved myself a lot of pain, expense, and time. Listen, reset and start now. If we look back and we start with regret, it's not going to work. I really want people to feel strong and confident about the next decade ahead, next 5 years ahead. I don't know how many years you have ahead of you. My father-in-law just texted me, by the way. He's 85 and he's a surgeon, and he's still doing surgery 3 times a week, and he's 85. And there are people that will fly to his town to have surgery with him because he's that good. Okay, so I don't know how long you have or you want to work. I have a client who's working, he's in his mid 30s, and he's working to stop at 50. It's fine too, if that's what you want. I'm going to be the devil's advocate there because he's too smart. But if that's what he wants, we need to work towards that. So something to think about. Also, the networking part is completely new. This is interesting because sometimes I think people don't feel like they should sign up for a free masterclass because they think, she's going to sell me stuff or there's nothing there. And that comment made me really happy because, I want to give you value. And there's even more behind the service wall, because that's my business, right? Like I wish I could win the lottery and tell you everything for free, but this is my business. I am a coach and I save stuff for my clients. So I hope you join me, because there is new stuff that sits inside the client gate wall. Ugh, I have always hated competition. Job hunting is a competition, and that's what I explained in the Job Hunting Masterclass. And there's no way around it, right? Like, even if you hate it, you need to play the game. If you decide to shut some doors in that game, that's fine. I've have worked with clients that refuse to do one thing or another. But then what I tell them is this: if you don't like to do this aspect of the job hunting for your career advancement, but you are that ambitious, then you need to be absolutely an expert on these other things. So let's be real here. So so this is something that is really interesting about job hunting that many people don't realize. It is a competition. Your best chance at the tail end of a long process, if you're an executive like most of my clients are, is 50%. If it's between you and another candidate, right? Most times these days, it's 33%. So remember, we're very bad at remembering percentages and probabilities and all of that. We're not very good. Keep that in mind. What is ATS again? The applicant tracking system, which is a software that most companies work, big and small, rich and poor. There are good ATS systems, there are very bad ATS systems, and we design job applications to go through that software and shortlist you at the end if you're suitable for that job. So job application methodology, I love it. I gamify it. I make it fun. I think it's fun. I think all of this is fun. That's the weird thing about me. And I love teaching it. So that's part of the group coaching as well. What are your thoughts of someone looking to make the transition from consulting to a permanent role? How can I address recruiters concerned from a consulting background? Everybody trying to make a transition will have some sort of bottleneck or challenge to address. It's because you're in a permanent role and you want to be a consultant, like a client of mine just did, or you're a consultant and you want to be in a permanent role, or you are in one sector and you want to go to another. There will always be, you're too old, you're too young, You're not, you're new to the country. There will always be a bottleneck, right? Big or small, there is something there that is in the way that you feel is a big elephant in the room. Most times, that's not the big elephant in the room for the recruiter, right? Most times, it's not the fact that you were in consulting and you want a permanent role. It's how you are not explaining or having a pitch that is crisp and clear. You're not storytelling or doing enough research about what type of permanent role you want. So yes, you've identified that you need to address recruiters' concerns, but I think what you probably need is a stronger, crisp, and clear focus on what we are trying to achieve and why it's the best for you, for your career, and for your future. So working on that pitch, working on storytelling techniques is really important. It is part of the group coaching, but if you want a quick, sharp, and easy thing and just get over with, and you don't need to work with me for 7 weeks, access the Reset Your Career. It's $199. It's my online course, and it's all about telling a good story that sells. Okay, it's about resetting and then knowing how to explain to people what you want to do. So I hope that that helps. I've done flawless interviews on a couple of occasions and still have not won the job. There are so many variables. Yes. So the final, I was telling a client of mine who's been working with me for a couple of months, and he also has access to my online platform. And the final module, which is the final in the group coaching as well, is like there's a checklist there. There's a checklist there for you to do continuous improvement. Even if an interview went well, there's a checklist for you to go through every single detail of your search for that job to evaluate and reflect on what you did well, because you reached the point of the job interview. So you've done a lot of things well, right? Serena Williams, now she's retired, but when she didn't win an Open, it didn't mean she was a bad tennis player, right? She won lots of qualifying games, got to the finals, lost to someone else. She's still a superstar in my eyes, in many people's eyes. So, but there will still be a time when she sits down with her coach after that final game and go, okay, these are the things we've done well. These are the little injuries we need to fix. This is the reason why you lost from that candidate. She had this backhand that you didn't have or whatever. Like, you need to kind of workshop with yourself or with a coach or with a group, in the case of the group coaching, to identify those variables and be more strategic and technical about your competition, because it is a competition. Are they scheduled to fit international people? I think she's talking about the group coaching. Yes. We have already people that have registered from overseas, both coasts and UK. So, and they're recorded. So if you're not attending live, which some people don't, you can watch the recording later. That's the coaching sessions for the 7 weeks. What if we want to be considered for various roles and lists them in our LinkedIn profile? That's problematic. If the roles are aligned, then that's great. But if the roles are completely different, which is the example I used in the masterclass of somebody who is a generalist, quite senior, executive, has the potential of being a COO or a CFO or back to HR, which is originally their career DNA. They're now a CEO. You're confusing the recruiter. You're not really explaining to the recruiter what you want to do. I'm giving a very senior example. It doesn't matter at what level you are in the pyramid of things, in the structure of things. But I hope that is an example that will explain that being too evasive and sprinkling your narrative like that will not make you rank high in the recruitment side of LinkedIn, or if you're talking to someone, they won't get you. Okay, so like I said, part of being a good job hunter is about explaining what you want to do, and that storytelling technique and pitch and feeling comfortable with your focus and being sharp and crisp and clear is really important and part of the coaching that I do. Here are two questions. What is a polite way to say I am unable to resign on the strength of a verbal offer? Don't need to be polite, you just need to say it. And what if you have received, I mean, of course you need to be professional and polite, but what you've just said here is exactly what you need to say. Yeah, you need to have a contract in hand before you resign from your previous job. What if you have received a good offer and it's the best one you've received in 2 years, but it's not your dream job, and your dream job might be around the corner? I love that question. I forgot about this question. I do not use the word dream anywhere on my website. If any one of you find the word dream on my website, come back to me, let me know, and I will fix it. And also, perfect is also another word that I avoid at all costs. And this was a learning curve for me. Okay. The perfect, specifically, I've learned from Lynn Kazali. Follow her on LinkedIn. She's fantastic. I love her visuals, and she has written a great book, Perfect-ish. And you can listen to her on the podcast as well when she launched that book a couple of years ago. There is no dream job. Sometimes you get a dream job and you realize it sucks. Okay, it happened to me. It happens to a lot of people. What you have is a sustainable career that grows towards your ultimate preferred future of how you want to continue working and stop working in the future if you ever want to stop working. All right, so just something to think about there. Is this new job that you have been offered moving you towards your preferred goals? And if not, how can you accept it because you may need it desperately, and then redirect your efforts to continue working towards that 10-year plan, that 20-year plan? When you have a longer term plan like that, it takes the stress out of your next move because you're going to be working towards that goal. And I talk a lot about that on my podcast. You don't even need to pay me to know that I'm very, very excited about that. Okay. Oh, the LinkedIn audit was brilliant. Thanks for the comment there. And, I love having comments here when I'm talking. Oh, this coffee is so good, by the way. Mm. All right. Now I have more questions, and I'm going to keep going until I answer all the questions. I don't care if you need to go, that's completely fine. But here we go. As a job seeker in the finance field, what are the basic application software packages that will help enhance my employability? This is a weird question. I don't know any software packages that will enhance your employability. You can ask somebody like me, who is a coach expert in job hunting, to help you. Please go to my website and see my services there. It's not a software, it's an online course. Maybe you can start with Reset Your Career. If you're ready to job hunt right now, or you want to learn the entire roadmap, the group coaching is open and it starts on Monday, and that's called Job Hunting Made Simple. You will also find it on my website, or let me just put a direct link to it. Did I put a direct link? I'm just putting a direct link. That was a weird question. I don't know if that's the question that he wanted to ask, because usually, when we talk about softwares, we're talking about recruitment and selection softwares, like the ATS question that I just answered before. In interviews, how do you share resigning because of a public investigation? Now, this is a very specific question, and one that it will be very hard for me to answer here in a way that I think is helpful to this person. Ideally, what you want is to book a consultation with me, because this seems like a very unique situation. But having said that, I just want to say a few general things that I think are important is what sort of role did you have in that organization? Was it a public role, a leadership role? Um, was the public investigation about you or about the business? Are there any clauses in your original contract when you joined the organization or your exit contract that might preclude you from talking about it? Is it many times, because I've been working as a coach for so long, I recommend clients to see a lawyer, and I have some lawyers that I have a list of that I recommend for different types of reasons when people are wanting to exit and they have very restrictive clauses in their work contracts or shares or anything like that, or if they're currently working and finding that there is something really difficult that is not just your usual stressful job or stressful boss or colleague, it's more than that, then there's an opportunity there to also get some legal advice. So as a coach, I have my limitations. I'm not a counselor, I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not a lawyer. So from time to time, I have a team, and I will recommend people to different experts. I have a book that I'd like to get and recommend to you. Give me a minute. Firing Back. It's a great book. I've used to have lots of copies of this book. I actually don't know why I had so many copies, and I gave them away, and I kept one, and I still use it. It is out of date for a few things, but I still love it, and it's worth reading if you have any sort of big setbacks in your career, like big, career limiting moves, burning of bridges. That's a good book. So something I can recommend. All right, moving on. These are questions, by the way, that I received ahead of the masterclass that I'm reading now. What can older job seekers do to excel at resumes and interviews that will make young recruiters look past their physical appearance? Um, it's funny you mentioned that, because just yesterday I was with a client that was being interviewed by a recruiter that was much older than her and was much, did not keep up with the times in terms of the questions that she was asking. They were kind of old fashioned and a bit cringy. So this happens, right? And both the recruiter, the employer, and the job candidate, everybody that works in white collar jobs, corporate, nonprofit, public sectors, need to be sort of up to date if they want to job hunt and be in charge of their careers. They need to be up to date with the way the world works now, right? So it's about not just excelling in resumes and in interviews, it's excelling in the workforce, in the ways of working today. One good person to follow for the future of work, ways of working, I've interviewed her a couple of times on the podcast, is Marianne Rue. Go to the podcast and search for Marianne. The 2 interviews I have with her are fantastic for that, and I want to invite you to become really excited about professional development, ongoing professional development. That's part of the group coaching from this module onwards, from this cohort onwards. It's something new that I'm including in the program that I didn't have before. And I hope that that kind of clarifies and creates it in a way that is easy to follow in the sort of what professional development you need in order to maximize your existing strengths, right? So we're going to be looking at as a group, we work together, but each person in the group will do an assessment. We're going to identify your individual talents, and then we're going to work on how to professionally develop them so that they keep up to date with the ways of work in 2023 and beyond. So I hope that helps. I'm a customer service professional with over 20 years of experience. However, most of my experience has been in small to mid-sized companies. When interviewing with larger companies, one of their concerns has been the fact that I don't have direct experience in larger organizations and may not be able to scale my experience to a larger customer service group. How may I assure them that I can apply my experience to a larger organization? Okay, so let's remember that job hunting is a competition. Whenever you are applying to a larger organization, it's likely that you will have a competitor that will have that background. Okay, so you can assume that that would be a direct competitor in the selection process against you. So, from their perspective as an employer, they have a list of great candidates. You might be one of them. They might have shortlisted you, and then they're going to weigh you against somebody else with that experience. I don't want you to feel defeated. I just want you to be aware, right? I'm being very pragmatic here. This person that has experience in that larger organization may be lacking in other things. What are those other things? You don't know. So you need to really identify the things that you are great at in the small to mid-sized companies that you can translate to the larger organization. You're called a dark horse candidate. Okay. And ideally, what you want to do is to really identify those amazing things that you have done in mid-sized companies that you can scale and be comfortable talking about it. Don't try to undermine it. That's the elephant in the room. Bring it to the front and let them know. Okay. That's, I can't give you too much because there's have so many more questions to answer, but I hope that helps you rethink the way that you're approaching this. I work for my family member. I'm not going to say what type it is. And know that I'm significantly underpaid in my current role. I'm currently beginning my job search. Is it worth having a conversation about my current compensation? A conversation related to compensation at this point implies that I will continue to be at the company for the foreseeable future. I don't like the idea of asking for and receiving higher compensation only to leave the company in a few months. Thoughts? If you look, I'm very clear about like my expertise, and my expertise is working with clients in the corporate, nonprofit, and public sectors. I do not have a lot of expertise in family business and working with family, right? So I'll be very frank because I know that there are lots of people that have that expertise and there are coaches out there that could help you deal with that better. I have friends that run family businesses and I talk to them a lot and I love them and they get my help and my advice from time to time. And I have had consultations with clients that either worked for and left their family businesses or are having issues in their family businesses. But it's not my expertise. What I want to say here is blood is stronger than water. Where did I see this? Probably Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. But this person is going to be in your life for a very long time. Whatever you're deciding to do with your career, you need to bring it up with him. Okay. And I think if you're about to leave or leaving in a few months, one of the biggest problems that we have in family business is succession planning. So please be upfront. And normally in a corporate sector, my advice is to do the opposite. Do not tell anyone you're leaving. But it's a different scenario here. We're talking about a family business, somebody who is very close to you, and succession planning is really important. That conversation might, I don't know at what stage you are in terms of leaving the company. That conversation could potentially mean you staying for longer than you think if there is, some dreams and hopes about the company that you were not aware of that this person might share with you. Or it could mean that you have a better transition out that sort of helps not only you, but the business cope with your departure. I think that this is important. opening up about the fact that you feel you're underpaid, which is very common in family businesses, is also really important. And maybe identifying solutions for that so that you can cope with what we're all going through, which is higher inflation, bit of, um, a tightening of everyone's budgets there, maybe some different benefits that people that run family business can access. So if you can maybe have discussions that can include not just cash, but other benefits that you would be able to access would be good as well. So I hope this helps. This is certainly a conversation for at least a consultation with me. Yeah, if you have the opportunity to invest in that in the future, I'd love to help. Given the uncertainty about the outcome of hiring a job consultant or professional coach, what should be the minimum deliverables in such kind of contracts? You need to trust the person you're engaging with, because I can't make any promises to you. I live by my reputation. I'm recommended usually by my clients, word of mouth, recruiters, executive searches. By the way, if a recruiter tells you should talk to Renata, what does that tell you? I mean, sometimes, recruiters recommend me, and then the person will, send me a message on LinkedIn and say, oh, such and such, I recommended that I talk to you. And I say, great, book a time. Let's talk. I have a discovery call for people that want to be private coaching clients, or I say, here's my website, these are my services, and they never book anything. And I'm thinking, they didn't get the message that they need to work on something before they go into recruitment mode, right? That's what the recruiter is trying to tell you. So if you have found me through a recruiter, that's a big red flag there, that there's stuff that you need to do, some homework that needs to be done with a coach. It may not be me, get another coach, but that's how we work. When I work with people, and the way that I price my services is so that, because I have a range of services, is to give everybody an entry into coaching. You will find that, with the talent service that I have is 97 Australian dollars. The reset is 199, and it goes up to $10,000 for a year of private coaching with me. So you can make a decision on what suits you, what you want to do. What you're trying to do with your investment is get the return. So if you think you're going to find out things that will speed up your learning, speed up your results, and get you closer to that job, if investing in private coaching or group coaching will bring that job forward by a month or two, that may be enough for you to think, okay, that's worth it. Right? So we're not miracle workers, but when I'm working with a client, individual or group, I'm dog with a bone. I will be working hard to get you a job, because that's my reputation on the line. Okay. This person here is saying they moved from one country to another. They want to understand recruitment trends and resourcing strategies for that specific country. That's Canada, by the way. So it's a country I'm very familiar with. I'm not Canadian. So if you think that there is specific stuff about the region you live that you need to know, find a mentor, people that work in your area, and have conversations with them. That's market intelligence, where you need to gather that intelligence. We teach market intelligence gathering in the group coaching, but I am a job hunting coach, and I have clients everywhere. I have clients in Africa. I have clients in South America. I have clients, you know what I mean? Those things that some people, if a decade ago, thought were very regional, because of LinkedIn, in fact, I think, and the globalization, the recruitment and selection process are becoming more and more standardized. So somebody like me can operate and help people all over the world. So just letting you know there, that those are classic, on-trend job searching techniques and strategies that you will learn with me. Recently, you interviewed Lou Adler here on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So that conversation is recorded. You will find it on those pages. And he's also going to be on my podcast in 2 weeks' time. He mentions that job postings are useless, and unless you're a perfect fit, don't apply. It's a waste of time. He mentions that we should use job postings as leads. I've been thinking about this comment. Okay, the fact that I interview somebody on my podcast, even somebody as amazing as Lou, doesn't mean I agree with everything that Lou says. I don't think that job postings are useless. I think that what I teach is about you converting to job that you see advertised. You converting from job application to phone screen to job interview or assessment or whatever the next stage is, job interview to job offer. I teach those steps. Okay, if you find those job postings online, or if somebody sends it to you, or if somebody taps you on the shoulder to apply, I do not care. I will teach you the skills to do just that. I have clients that, like I said, shut the door to networking, will not network. And no matter how much I insist, they just refuse. So what we do is we make them excellent at applying for jobs online, like, you see in job ads on LinkedIn all the time. There's nothing wrong with that in my view. And if that's what you can do and want to do, I will teach you how to do it well and how to progress in the selection process. Okay? Hope that helps. To save time, would you recommend a job seeker spend more time? Having said that, let me just go back to those questions. Yes, I think that if you see a job in a company that you love, but the job is not for you, do not apply for that job just because you love the company. Use that job as a lead. If you see a job and you don't get the job, it didn't go through for some reason. Take that as a learning for you, and you need to figure out why you didn't get that job. You didn't convert, because if you believe in your heart that job was perfect for you and you did not get a phone screen or anything, maybe somebody inside that company can help. Maybe I can help. I have helped people book consultations about this with me all the time, and I tell them exactly why they didn't get that specific job that they thought was perfect for them. So yes, using those job postings as leads is part of the very beginning of the group coaching process. I tell people a lot, do not apply for these jobs. I just want us to do this sort of exercise with these jobs. So this is something that I agree 100% with Lou, and we workshop. I can't tell you much more because that's part of my IP. I workshop a lot with my clients using jobs that are advertised, and we do market intelligence using them. To save time, would you recommend that job seekers spend more time on trying to tap into the hidden job market versus applying for jobs through sites like LinkedIn and Seek? Okay, you probably have not yet accessed my free resource, which is called Optimized Job Search. And I am going to put the link in the show notes for you, because it's a great resource and it will tell you everything you need to know about how to spend your time holistically and the distribution of tasks. It's free. It includes a masterclass if you want to learn how to use it better. It has 3 different types of weekly schedules you can choose from: full-time job hunter, part-time job hunter, or job hunting on the side. And it gives you a template to use of activities that you can do. Okay, we're almost done, everyone. Can we trust robots' interviews, and how can we treat them? I love that. Okay. Yes, we discussed that. We train for that in the group coaching. I have clients that have been interviewed by chat boxes. I don't know if you know about Predictive Hire. It's an amazing organization founded by a female HR superstar, Australian, and it's everywhere around the world these days. And yeah, they're robots and they're interviewing you on a chat box. And this is also brand new to the group coaching. I'll be teaching how to work on this for the first time with the group. And I hope you join me. You can trust them. They're very well designed, and there is a technique that I figured out that I think will work for you. If a recruiter tries to sell you a position for a small to medium-sized company where there is no PD and the responsibilities are vague and describes it as a lot of potential, can you trust the job and the company? It sounds dodgy, doesn't it? But sometimes this is how jobs are created. So many times, I mean, basically all of my career has been about jobs that were just designed as I designed them, basically, right? So I think yes, it requires a level of trust. It requires you discussing this with mentors and people in the sector to give you advice on how serious this company is. It requires you to look at their financials and make sure that you're not signing up for a sinking ship. There's a, if you don't have access to the financials, you have to ask. So many times applying for jobs, I have asked, can you please send me your reports? As a candidate, I think that's, at the level I used to apply for jobs, I think that's appropriate. I'm C-level, by the way. I used to be a CEO and an executive director. So yeah, so just think about those things. What is it that you can ask to help and support you make that decision? But I like it. I mean, these are people that have worked in startups, people that have worked in small businesses. They understand that that's how things work. And then, yeah, it's all, i- if you have been in highly structured organizations like government, large organizations like banks, you're probably very used to a much more structured approach to PDs and responsibilities and KPIs. And I understand your reluctance. So happy to workshop things with you if you think it's something you want to do in the future. I have helped people move away from government and into startups successfully. And this is a lovely client of mine that I'm just thinking of. It hasn't been just once, but thinking of her in particular because it was a big transition. She went from a very structured government organization to a super agile startup, and it worked really well. So I'm happy to say that we workshopped together, and her concerns were very similar to yours. Now that I think of it, this was years ago. I'm re-entering the workforce after 8-year break to raise kids. Welcome back. Yeah, well done. And wanting to venture into a new space, how do I brand myself, present myself, and create a resume LinkedIn profile? Join my group coaching. You are my ideal candidate for the group coaching, right? There's a lot that I think we can help you with, and I'd love to help you. But having a roadmap, especially if you have young kids and you don't have the brain power, that there's so much mental load in parents these days thinking about so many different things. Let me simplify things for you. Join the group coaching. You'll be fine. I've helped many women and men come back from parental leave. Do you have an advice in looking for corporate, senior, but part-time jobs? Oh, I love this question so much. I've been thinking so much about this. I'm returning to work after parental leave and finding it difficult to find sufficiently challenging, interesting part-time work. I'm debating here if I should share with you my thoughts because I have kind of some IP that I sort of keep behind the client gate wall, like I said before. It's becoming more common. You should negotiate later. That's all I'm gonna say. Apply for the jobs you want, and then if you're offered the job, start negotiating your flexibility. I think that people haven't, employers, by that I mean employers, haven't really completely caught up with how much the world has changed since the pandemic, but they are willing for good talent. They might be willing to to be flexible. Okay. And I have some techniques that I teach my clients on how to work that out at the tail end of a process. Okay, two more questions to go. Oh, we're almost done. Industry recency. Industry recency can seem to be a problem when looking to change industries or roles. Yes. When looking to change industries or roles, how do you overcome your most recent experience when looking for new opportunities? Okay. Um, yes. So if you are a candidate for a specific industry, let's say automotive, but you haven't worked in automotive for the past 3 years, you were working FMCG. How do you overcome your most recent experience? You don't. There's no way of overcoming your most recent experience. As a fully fledged dark horse candidate or a more or less dark horse, remember this is a competition. Chances are your competitor will have the automotive industry recent experience that you don't have. What you have is this amazing experience that you did in a different industry that you can bring the intelligence, the best practices to this job, right? So learning how to um, pitch, again, let's talk about pitch, how to pitch for your transferable skills and experience, and how amazing and useful and important it will be to add that innovative thinking into automotive, to add a bit more of the best practices from other industry sectors into a sector that may need a bit of ramping up. So that's what I would be working together with you if you were my client. I hope that helps. I am working through changing careers at 58. Wow, that's awesome. I have had some success, but finding it hard to get interviews. Wondering if I should remove some dates from my CV, and is there anything I should say in a cover letter that may change thoughts around ageism regarding my ability to do the job? We once had in the group, I think it was the second group. I've ran this group five times now, the Job Hunting Made Simple. I think it was the second group I had this client in the group, and he did not attend a single session. I think he attended maybe one or two towards the tail end of the process. So a few months later, I messaged him and I said, a bit concerned you didn't attend the sessions. I noticed you've done the sessions because I can see what people do, because I have access to the online platform. So I know I could see he did all the homework. He watched everything. And like, are you okay? Is everything fine? Just catching up and making sure everything is fine. He sent me an amazing email, explaining everything that he had done. And he was a career changer at the same age or a little bit older than you, completely new career. And he had found a new job by doing the group coaching, not with everybody else, but later, because the time that I was running the program wasn't suitable for him. He had been busy with a short-term contract in his old career, just to pay the bills and all of that. And it wasn't suitable, but he just wanted to have access to all of the recordings and learnings. When that contract ended, he did it, and then he got a new job. He was also studying part-time to enable the career change. I was like so surprised and happy for him, and good for him. Like, it was just the most beautiful letter. And I think an extract of that is a testimonial on the group coaching website landing page. So if you go there, one of them is definitely from that letter. So yes, the thoughts about ageism is, in a lot of my clients' minds. And like I said, many of my clients are your age and above. And I think that working holistically, like one of the people here asked the question, do you work with Zoom? Yes, your background, the way that you present yourself, the body language, the learning the ways of working in 2023 is part of that. And then you are adding an additional challenge of you're not looking for a job in the career that you've had, you're looking for a brand new job in a career you don't have yet. So that's another layer there that you will have to work really um, well with recruiters and to identify a good pitch. And sometimes you have to test it out. You have to take the pitch out to market and test it out and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, go back to the drawing board. I um I was reading a blog that I wrote years ago when I interviewed Jacinta Whelan, and it started off like, when I met Jacinta Whelan, who's a recruiter based here in Melbourne, she gave me so much feedback, or the things she said to me in my first sort of interview with her was so eye-opening to me. I went downstairs after that 20-minute interview. It was really, really quick. And I sat at the cafe and I wrote down everything she had said because I knew I had to do updates to my resume. I knew I had to update the way I presented myself based on the feedback she gave me. Okay, so you need to be an ongoing student of your new career and of how to present yourself in that new sector career that you have chosen. I'd love to help you. Answering a question like this in a live session, there's just so much I can say. Like if I have 1 hour with you, it would be so much more educational for you, and I hope that I would be able to give you more feedback. But you're also a great candidate for the group coaching, so something to consider. Okay. I thought I was over, but I have a few more. Oh my God, it never ends. Renata, could you please discuss the difference between recruiters that are paid? Oh, that's the question that was asked before. The recruiters that are paid by companies and such, and recruiters that are paid only when a candidate they present is hired. How do you interact differently with each type? I still think that that's the responsibility of the recruiters. As a candidate, you need to present yourself professionally to all of the power players that can open doors for you. Okay, and explain exactly the sort of jobs that you want and pitch for the right jobs in your sector, in your industry. So let them figure out internally how they're going to work with you as a candidate. I mean, you can always ask them, tell me how you work with employers, make notes about them, keep a spreadsheet so you don't get confused. When you're looking for jobs and you're actively job searching, it can be very confusing because there's so many different applications that you will send. So keep notes and be ready to ask the right questions when they come back with opportunities for you. I know a recruiter that got me a job many years ago that I want to work with. She only gets paid by a company if she presents a candidate that is hired. That's the same question. Yeah, you're absolutely right there. And like I said, treat them all the same. Also, I may not need to use her to get, oh, that's the same question. What are the best sources of how to get information on salaries that can be used in salary negotiations? It's really important as a professional to be in the know. That's market intelligence. We teach that in the group coaching. That's something everybody needs to do. Yes, you can Google it, and that's the first step. If you're completely out of the loop, Glassdoor, job ads in some job boards include salaries. Some places like New York State now you have to have the salary in the job ad. So sometimes it's easy to know. You can ask people, and you should. You really need to know those things. It's part of your career readiness. So start with Reddit and Glassdoor job ads, and then if you can't find it there, or even if you do, still double check with your mentors and colleagues and network. Any help you can give me is appreciated. Love your podcast. Thank you. Have great ideas and advice. Thank you. Okay, I think this is the final one. Renata, LinkedIn allows an open to work flag to all or just recruiters. True, we've discussed that before. I have set this to recruiters only, and And yet many do not seem to recognize this. No, they do. You just don't know it, but they do. Should I set this to all, or is it there a downside to make this visible? Yes, like I said before, my preference for my clients is to not set it to all. I don't have a single client that I said, oh, it's great. You can set it to all. I haven't had a client yet that I've recommended to set it to all. Okay. So don't worry. I think if you've been listening since the beginning of this live, I've discussed this before. LinkedIn has 3 platforms. You only see one. There's a recruitment platform, and open to work means it's open to work to recruiters. Now, let me tell you something that sometimes people get confused. If, let's say, you work at like a famous company, at IBM, okay? And you flag to recruiters only that you're open to work. According to LinkedIn, IBM's HR department and subscriptions to the LinkedIn recruitment platform will not see that you are open to work. Okay, there is a risk there that this may not work as nicely and automatically as LinkedIn says it does. There are several platforms with coaches discussing this and people giving their opinions. My personal opinion in general, there are unique cases with clients, and I work with them individually, and we may come to a different um, decision about this. In general, my decision is this: you can be open to work forever. Available, casually browsing, that's kind of the words that I think are there for you to choose. Just leave it there. You own your career. You are, you might be made redundant tomorrow. Believe me, happened to me. It's not fun. I didn't see it coming, right? You might be made redundant. You might get fired. The company might file for bankruptcy. Whatever happens, you need to be in control of your career. If an interesting opportunity comes by, you need to sit down for a discussion. You don't need to take the job or accept it. You just need to have a conversation with the recruiter. Maybe it's not you that is the right person. Maybe you can say, look, I'm not looking right now, but let me introduce you to somebody else. That recruiter will thank you forever, and you are going to be in that recruiter's good books, right? You've made them a favor, and then you can ask for a favor later, let's say. Okay, so just something to think about. And end up in 90 minutes. I knew it was going to be 90 minutes. Thank you for the comments here. Do you talk about how to use groups on LinkedIn to make connections? I don't like LinkedIn groups. Does anyone like LinkedIn groups? Please leave a comment below if you're watching this later on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. I love Facebook groups. I think they're great. I have one myself. You're welcome to join. And, it's a safe group. If anybody does anything untowards, they're kicked out. Pretty much like that. It has over 500 people now in my Facebook group. I not only like my Facebook group, I like many Facebook groups. I'm a big sort of a Facebook group fan. My favorites are podcast groups. That's why I have a podcast group myself. It's a group for job hunting, the Job Hunting Podcast group. That's what it's called if you want to search. But I have a link here for you in the show notes, the Job Hunting Podcast group. And I am part of other podcast groups, other groups for small business owners like myself. There are groups for women. There are so many interesting groups on Facebook. I don't find the LinkedIn groups work that well. If you have a great experience with a LinkedIn group, great. I just find that everybody's self-promoting themselves too much there. But maybe I haven't joined the right groups. So I'm always asking, and nobody has ever told me anything great about a LinkedIn group. I'm always asking. If you watch my podcast, I'm always asking about, do you like LinkedIn groups? Anyway, Everyone, thank you so much for those that stuck around and watched this for so long. I have really enjoyed doing this. I always do. I hope that some of you will decide to work with me in the future. If not, just stay on board and follow me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, or on YouTube. I also do IG lives from time to time. I have some funny reels. So, yeah, I just love being in social media and providing value to the biggest possible audience of professionals out there. So if you know anybody that you think will benefit from connecting with me or listening to my podcast, please let them know that I'm here for you. Everyone who's looking for work or ambitious for their careers in the corporate sector. A big thank you once again. Have a great day or a great evening wherever you are. Bye bye. See you another time. Bye.